All right, guys, so first up when you're talking about wings, you've got some wing guns. So the first thing that we need to do is just install these, which are pretty simple. They're going to install just like this. And then you've got one with a pin, one without a pin. They're just going to attach just like this. So when you take your wing, this one acts as a cap. And there's enough space so that you can put some glue in there and then squeeze and let it dry. And by doing that, you give it some pressure so that it holds nice and tight, so that way it can be posed. And it goes exactly like this. So the gun barrels face downwards, okay? So you can put those in, you don't have to install them right now. You might want to wait. I'm just going to show you how it works. So go ahead and put your gun barrels on. You can put these in the primer and get them primed up. But you don't have to install them while you're still messing with the wings. So here we go. They're all installed. Super easy. So we can go ahead and set those off to the side. Now then, let's talk about wings. So when you're installing the wings, I'm just going to do one at the moment. So we'll set this other one down here. So you've got two holes here. These are for your LEDs. So again, this is another opportunity to make a choice about how you're going to display your model, whether you're going to use the actual lights or not. If you're not, then all you got to do is take these guys, put shrink wrap over them, tighten up that shrink wrap, and then they're just going to press into place. And the very tip of the bulb just barely sticks out. And you're going to do that on the back and the front. If you're going to use the wiring, you've got 3 colors of wiring. And there should be enough. We planned it to where there should be enough. If not, this is, I think, 28 gauge wiring, and you can just grab that, grab some more of it off Amazon. Black is always going to be your negative. So that is a common negative. Red is going to be the positive for LED number 1. Green is going to be the positive for LED number 2. And this just helps us to separate them. Okay? So all you've got to do is take your roll of negative wire and you're just going to feed it through hole number 1. Yep, we might feed it through the other side. We've got a bend here that we've got to get through. Okay, so it's fed through. We're going to go ahead and clip this one with, let's call it 12, because we just want to give ourselves enough space to be able to work with it a little bit easier. So let's give ourselves 12 inches of extra space. You go grab some clippers. Okay, so we've got a wing, we've ran one set of red and black through one side, one set of green and black through the other side. This just allows us to know which one is which when we come down here. The next step is going to be taking the one that's in the front, so one that faces towards the front, and you're going to use a flathead screwdriver and some super glue, and you're going to glue that into the channel so that it then meets this hole here. So then they're both in the same position. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we've got all four. What I'm going to do is I'm going to twist them to make a single rope. I don't want to twist it forever, but you want to twist it a little bit. Next, you've got two pieces with two holes. You'll see that there's a hole in the center and then a hole out here. What we didn't realize until later was that you also needed a groove. That groove faces the back, and that's the channel that's going to keep the wire flush when this is moving. Because basically what you're going to do is you're going to slide this on with that channel facing outward. This wire is going to go into this hole, and then the wire is going to go here into the groove that's on the outside of the axle. That's going to allow the wing to go up and down carefully without messing up the wire. Now, this wire is thin. It is fragile. So when you run that wire then through the inside to the hole, you're going to want to make sure that there's enough slack to allow for the wing to go up and down without it tightening and binding. Okay? Now, these are made of ABS plastic, so they are stronger, but they are brittle. And this is going to be a tight fit. So just be very careful and just do this very slowly. What you may have to do is line up this piece and make sure that your other three pieces, you've got one that goes here, one that goes here, and then there's one with a nub. I don't have it on the table right now. There's one with a nub, and that goes in here. You want to make sure that those are all lined up. So one's going to go in this little gap, one goes in this gap. So you can see I've got to move this forward a little bit. So it looks like this piece, this back one, can go right in the middle of this, and then everything else is going to line up, okay? If you want to be extra safe, in this gap, the indentation line that goes towards your body, towards the front of the Imperial Shuttle, you can make sure that this piece touches that, and then all of these will line up, okay? But we want to get this piece on because it's important. So I'm going to go ahead and get this on, and I'm going to make sure that there's glue all along the inside, and we'll get this wire into this groove. Okay, so here's the wing. I just pressed this on. You can see that it's right up against the edge here. Then I pressed the wire into the groove and just dropped a little bit of glue in there. And now this whole thing, you can just run those wires into that groove, and then you can slide this thing in, and it's going to give you that movement. And then these wires just wrap all the way through, and they'll go inside to the center, just in here where the Arduino goes. So you're going to go ahead and do this to both sides, okay? Then all you've got to do is, again, just line these guys up. They're going to go, you can probably put them in now with the axle. So the axle goes through, and then you've got 4 bolts. 1 bolt goes in here, 1 bolt goes in the front. You'll tighten it from the front. So you can just kind of shove that axle in one at a time, get these things in there, and get them attached. Then you can take the bolt out and remove the wing if you want to. You want to paint the entire wing first, then paint this entire thing, weather both of them, then you can install them together, and then you can add a little bit of weathering in the gaps and the joining portions where they go together, okay? So let's go ahead and move on next to the engines in the back. We'll go ahead and do that right now. So inside your package, you will find this guy. So let's go ahead and unpack him, and I'll show you where he goes. So you've got a good bit of wire. That's going to go into the hole. So it's going to face the backwards like this. And then this guy is really simple. All you've got to do is thread him through. And he's going to fit in here. If he doesn't fit, then you just need to sand that acrylic to ensure a good fitment. It's a tight fit, but it fits. And that actually goes like this. Sorry. So you can work this a little bit. It's supposed to be like a perfect fit, so it looks like it's a little bit big. So just kind of work it a little bit. You'll do this piece, probably one of the last things to do. Then you've got your engine piece, and we've heard some comments about these being spaced incorrectly. Well, we had the actual blueprints, and they're not spaced incorrectly. And then we got these diffusers. So you can choose to put the diffusers in or not. So some models they're there and some models they aren't. They do create a really cool effect. Whoops. As I lose one. So they're just going to just glue right in there like that. They just balance. So they're just going to get glued on the ends. And then this piece here just fits over the top like a cap. And you can choose to glue that on or not. It will fit by itself, but I would recommend gluing that and then filling the seams, but that's just me. And that pretty much concludes the fuselage. So if we move this guy out of the way, you've got your big old fin here. You're going to do the same thing that you did to the wings, where you've got 2 different runs of wire, and they did not include the right amount of wire, so I've got some extra wire here that you can pick up from Amazon. $10 gets you like a pack of 5 colors at 30 or 28 gauge, so just get some of that. And then you're going to do the exact same thing, black and red, black and green, or black and yellow, or black and whatever. That's going to come out these 2 holes right here. And then this whole thing just pops into place here. And you've got an opposite side that fits into a groove. And then you're just going to press these together. So you could use 5-minute epoxy and just hold it or clamp it. And that's going to give you a nice firm fit. The wires themselves go straight down out of these 2 holes down at the bottom. So just like that. Make sure that there's plenty of room, because you want this piece to be a piece that you can set to the side next to your fuselage. So I would give like 2 feet, 3 feet even if you want to, so that you can completely take this off and put it to the side. So that's that piece. As far as landing gear goes, let's go over that. And then in a second video, I'm going to show you how the electronics get put together and what the Arduino wiring system looks like. So you've got some options here. You've got open landing gear and closed landing gear. So depending upon which position you're going to want to place it in, you've also got two different sets of black poles. One is a long pole that screws together. That's going to be for the flight position. And one is going to be just a single short pole. That's for the landed position. And that just takes all the pressure off of this guy. If we take our fuselage, the landing gear itself just slots in. I would glue this with epoxy. And then you've got a ball and a pin. And you just glue that just like that. So that's really simple. Then if you're going to use open landing gear, there's just two little slots on either side. So you can just glue that on. If you're going to use closed landing gear, then you just glue that in place. Super simple. The last thing that we've got is the base itself. So we've got our nice little base, your power button on the back, and then either one of these will supply power, and then one can be daisy chained to the next if you've got a few Merlin Models pieces that are tied up next to each other, or maybe something else with a 12-volt power supply. On the bottom, you've got some screws. So you're going to pop these screws off, then you're going to measure to the center of this back plate. Then you're going to need liquid nails, is my preferred method. And that is how you glue this piece with the chamfered edge facing upwards. What I like to do is lay down some liquid nails. Then you're going to want to run a main power line all the way through whichever pole that you want to use, whether it's the flight position or the standing position. Make sure that there's plenty of lead out both ends. That cable is going to go underneath this and get attached into the liquid nails. Or if you wanted to, you could take the pole and drill into the side and have it come out the side, whichever way you want to do it. Then your liquid nails is in generally the right spot. You place this guy in place, and then you feed your stand through this hole while this is still unscrewed. And then you can kind of shift this guy around a little bit until you get the stand nice and lined up, screw it in nice and tight, and then just let that sit for 24 hours for it to completely solidify. And now you've got a stand with this completely attached. Then there's going to be wire that sticks out of the top of this. That's going to go to the main power of the Arduino. And you've got another lead, and you'll see a clip from this button, and you just plug that into the positive and negative, and then the button will work. Super simple. All right, guys, just real quick, after we're going through the base, in your kit, you're going to see these 4 pieces. The 2 threaded rods, those are your main axles for the wings. Then you've got a short rod. That's for your landed position to support the center. So you would use this, run your wire through this, and put this in here if you're going to do it in landed. You're going to use this if you're going to do it in flight mode. And the reality is, you're just going to have to make a choice. You could probably go back if you wanted to, but you'd have to remove the wire. Or basically unscrew this, pull the wire out, then change it out with this one, put the wire in, and you just have a longer tail. And that's fine. So that gives you the option to change out these whenever you wish, because the rest of it's going to be connected to your base. But you'll have to make some choices about how you want to install your landing gear. Because if you're going to switch it out to flight mode versus landed mode, these got to come off. So you may consider drilling some holes and putting 2 magnets in here. That way they just sit in place. These guys can be just barely glued on, so you can pop them off if you want to switch poses. There's not really a temporary method for this, but super glue has a brittle tendency, which is why I explained to use epoxy as much as possible on the big parts, just to make it all stronger. But that's probably what I would do, would be just to, I mean, in reality, you could pop just a couple of pieces of couple little drops of glue on here, solidify that on the inside, and then you could pop this off as well, because it's going to be brittle. But magnets are a cleaner look. But these guys definitely just have to be glued on. And for the painted versions, I think we'll just include an instruction video on how to change it out on your own and what you would need. Or you would just tell us which version you want. But that's it. That's all the basics. Again, I'll go through a wiring on its own video. We'll probably do that later, but we will include a wiring diagram. It's very simple though. You've got your little Arduino piece here. If you open that up, there are videos on how to install the software. So all you've got to do is follow the previous instruction on how to install the software itself. You're going to put the code on, and then it's really just a matter of saying which one of these pins do you use. You've got V in and ground at one end. That's going to be the line that comes from the stand. So your main red and black go into V in and ground. And then there's just going to be a couple of pins on this side, and I'll tell you what those pins are. We'll put that in a post in the description, etc. Which pins go in here, and that's going to determine your setup. When you're installing the software and installing the code that we give you, you're going to use the blue wire. You just plug that in, plug this guy into your computer. Justin's already done some instructions on that. Your weakest point are these. So be very careful with the wings. Again, you can tighten the fronts before you put these guys on. And what I would recommend for this is to take a little bit of electrical tape and put that around this until it seats nice and tight. And that's all you got to do, and then it'll fit. Using tape is something that we've used a lot in prototypes as we're testing fitment and stuff like that. I don't know why this shrunk, but it did. So that's an easy fix for it. The other option would be to take like hot glue, put some tape around the inside of the, you could put tape around this, or you could put tape on the inside of the fuselage, and then just spread some very hot glue, wait for it to like really warm up, like 10 minutes. Spread that around with a paintbrush or something like that, press it on, and then once it dries, it creates kind of like a plastic bond. You can pop it off, remove the masking tape, and now this can go on back on and come off. Basically, you're just looking for a thickening agent to get you that extra 0.5 millimeter that's causing it to want to slip off. But yeah, back to this. So be very careful with these, because this little joint here is your pressure point. Make sure that you've got epoxy is what I would use all the way in, all the sides. Make sure that these guys are very carefully, fully up against. There's no gap. Because if you pop these little guys off, we can get you some more, but not an easy thing. So if you break one accidentally, not a huge concern. It's just going to take some time to get you some more. But it would be better to glue it really securely. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's really pertinent here. If you have questions, PM me. I know I didn't put it together, so that might cause some of you guys some following issues, but I hope I've given you at least where everything goes and you've seen everything. So we'll start there, and then as soon as we finish up painting the AT-ATs, we might do a quick painting video on these guys as we do some painting videos on the other ones, because we've got a nice line of painted objects coming down the pipe, and that's going to be our primary concern. We've got our painting studio literally right in front of me that is just about ready to go. And then we've got a new hire lined up that's going to start helping me with base colors, masking, all the basic stuff that's not incredibly technical. So then all I've got to do is worry about detail painting. But that's it, guys. Thanks very much.